Okay, prepared. This is just a very disjointed video. I just had a few things I want to say. If you were just sitting on my porch and you can visit and say, did you hear that? We would just talk. But since I can't really do that, you have to be subjected to a video that seems to have no rhyme or reason. We had horrible weather yesterday. There were tornado warnings, watches. There were severe thunderstorms that came through. The winds were up to over 50 miles an hour. It was insane. It was crazy. It was pitch black dark at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It was crazy. Our power went out for hours, and all my husband did is go out there and plug the refrigerator and our bank of the television and whatnot and into the solar, and we carried on. And because we changed from a 1,000 to a 3,000 watt inverter, it can carry a lot more, so we could actually plug the barn into it too if they have heat lamps and stuff on. But it wasn't that cold yesterday. It was pretty warm, thankfully. At least it was warm. But yeah, it's very satisfying to be able to just keep everything going. Because, you don't ever know how long it's going to be out, and the freezer will be okay for a couple of days, but the fridge, I don't want to lose the things in the fridge. So anyway, it's very satisfying to do that. And, so many people will not go and learn things that they need to do. They're, like my friend Steve, or Integrated Preparedness and American Reversion and Prepping for Prosperity. And Steve, stop adding channels because I can't remember them all. Well, you can add as many as you want to, but I just can't remember all the names of them off the top of my head. I'm getting old. I can't remember all this stuff. I can't remember the names of my own channels half the time. People are, they're, I guess he's talking about prepping sickness, where they're just so scared and the world's going to end by noon, and they buy stuff and hoard it. That's all they do. They don't learn to do anything. They don't claim any positivity. And you know what positivity is? It's doing things that put you in a better position for when everything does fall apart. So, yeah, it's crazy. But the mindset of a lot of people today, now, I generalize a lot, and I know in every group I talk about, there are people who are exceptions to things. But, I was thinking about, and my husband said, I just saw a video. Now, he doesn't keep up with things as much as I do on YouTube. He tends to watch news channels, and I can't even stand the voices of these people anymore. He watches the news channels to keep up with what's going on, at least that side of it. And he watches, I don't know what they're shooting at, C-SPAN and things like that. And I watch more YouTube and alternate news channels so that I can actually keep up with real stuff that's going on, and keep the pulse, my finger on the pulse of what the people are saying, what the people are doing, and instead of what the government, we don't know what the government's doing to us. They're not doing much for us. They're doing a lot to us. But he said, I just saw a video. And now this is just a story about him. He said, I saw a video. He said, they said, my chicken started laying again when I fed them pinto beans. You try it and see what happens. And he answered. I went, uh-oh. He answered, uh-oh. He said, well, he was a realtor for a while, but he wasn't a realtor as long as I was. And of course, he doesn't feel like he owes anybody any tax. So, of course, he said, that's the dumbest thing he said, I've been a breeder for 18 years, and that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard since people were saying that chickens needed a rooster nearby to lay eggs. I thought, okay, uh-oh, you're going to get banned from their channel. But, and I actually have seen videos. Once it said navy beans, once it's pinto beans. I was like, oh God, can we insert an eye roll here? There's a meme where the girl says, I roll my eyes so hard I saw the back of my brain, But the thing, that is a thing. There are a lot of old farmers' tales. And there is a thing that people say, well, you need a rooster for hens to lay eggs. That's like saying you need a man around so you can ovulate. Not how it works. That's not how any of this works, Marge. But, you know, I keep thinking, how in the world did they come up with that? And I kind of think I know. And it comes down to causation versus association. There's probably an old farmer one day, and he got him some chicks, and they got to what he thought was laying age, and they didn't lay eggs yet, and they kept not laying eggs and not laying eggs. Of course, you know, heritage breeds and older breeds, not overbred like puppy mill chickens, they do wait longer to lay eggs, generally. They're not like the hybrid layers today, the red sex links and the gold sex links that lay at 16, 17 weeks old, and then they burn out at 2 years or less. And they get reproductive malfunctions, and they die of cancers and all kinds of stuff. But, you know, probably got some guy got these chicks, and they didn't lay, and they didn't lay, and they didn't lay. And so he decided he was going to get him a rooster. He thought, well, if they ever do lay, I'll get me a rooster, and we'll, you know, maybe I can hatch some chicks or something. At least he was cognizant of the facts of life there. A lot of people don't realize it. You got to have a male to produce something. The pink-haired Xbox playing people these days don't seem to remember that you got to have a male and a female for that. So, you know, he probably put this rooster with him, and they're about ready to lay anyway. Of course, he didn't see the signs of it. He didn't see the signs because he didn't know enough to recognize the signs of hens about to lay eggs. And all of a sudden, the rooster came, and all of a sudden, the eggs started popping out, and he goes, oh my gosh, that was what was wrong. I didn't have a rooster. Now I realize that I have to have a rooster for the hens to lay eggs. And that's probably where that old fable came from. The world's full of fables, and people love to believe fables over facts and experience, and they love the drama. And in the prepping community, a lot of people just love drama. I call them drama hogs. And they are drama. Some people just love drama. And they love denial. They're in denial about a lot of things. And I'm not talking about chickens, I'm talking about everything. And they won't do anything to better their future. They think if they buy a bunch of stuff at the grocery store and stick it in a room and don't eat it, that's prepping, and that's not prepping. That's not, and as Steve called it this morning, I said I was going to use his term. He didn't call it preppers, he called them the self-reliance. We are self-reliance. We are the self-reliance. And you, people who are doing the same things as we are, you are the self-reliance. The people who put in their gardens, the people who have chickens for livestock. Maybe you milk a goat, maybe you have goats or whatever. I chose not to have livestock that gave live birth in order to avoid the vet visits and all that kind of stuff. I prefer the chickens that I can just kind of choose. There's no unauthorized breeding. They're breeding all the time, day in and day out. You just don't have to hatch their eggs if you don't want any more chickens. And no vet visits. You just have to, over time, you learn how to vet your own chickens, how to take care of your own chickens. We've done crop surgeries when they had impacted crops, and we used to do that years ago until I realized a lot of things that, you know, most all those, the crop was malfunctioning because there was a problem with the bird. Otherwise, crop's only a symptom. But anyway, I think that's where that old farmer's tale came from about needing the rooster to lay eggs. It's because he associated their onset of laying with the arrival of a rooster on the property. I'm just guessing. This is just a guess. That's a different. Now the rooster didn't cause them to lay eggs. He just happened to show up, and it was their time to lay. And the guy wasn't smart enough to realize, or he wasn't educated enough to know the signs of a hen about to begin her laying. So that, you know, that's bad science. Haven't we had enough bad pseudoscience over the last 2 years that we don't need any more bad scientific conclusions? Yeah. So, you know, there's so many newbies and so many neophytes that they draw conclusions based on what they see, and they try something, and the thing is, they've tried it at the same time the days are getting longer, and they say, oh, I fed them this, they started laying, that must have caused it. Bad science. Or if you want to talk like fakey Fauci, science. That's science. When I said that, I was thinking about that this morning. I thought, do you remember that old movie, Weird Science? Weird Science. Do you remember that old movie with Kelly LeBrock, Anthony Michael Hall, and God rest his soul. Bill Paxton as the disgusting older brother. Weird science. Yeah. I don't know. That was just something it popped into my head, and I thought, too bad we don't have Bill Paxton anymore. I like Bill Paxton. Anyway, and then, then there was in Aliens 2, Aliens, the sequel to Alien, when he was one of the military guys going after the aliens, and they said, no, you can't use your weapons. You can't. There's a coolant system below you or whatever. You can't. You blow it up. So just on a nuclear device, it'll blow up the whole place. And he goes, what are we supposed to use? Harsh language? So anyway, I just remember Bill Paxton this morning. It just popped into my head. Random thoughts pop into my head often, as you know. And I think sometimes they're kind of entertaining, so I don't want to entertain you with those. But yeah, I mean, we're having so much bad science lately. It's crazy. And bad associations, incorrect associations. So anyway, my chickens are doing well. The 5 chicks are doing well. I still don't know for sure if there are 3 girls or 2 girls. I'm thinking please, from my mouth to God's ears, can we have 3 pullets here? Because I got names for all 3 of them. The little buff, it still has no sign of being male still. Now they are just 3.5 weeks old, so there's still time for a comb to pop up on that. And it's a buff, pure buff. It's not a splash. So it's a different color variety. And I haven't raised Cochins enough to be that great at sexing. I'm great at barred rocks. I'm great at the Brahmas. And Cochin's a little bit more difficult, because if you recall, when Mace and Iris were growing up, I had kind of figured out their sexes, and I was completely backwards. What? Wait a minute now. So they all feathered out fast. They all feather out the same. One tends to stand tall a lot and watch when everybody's doing something. He hears this. He hears something. He stands up tall. So it could be a male. But Iris used to do the same thing. That little blue devil Iris, she did the same thing. Anyway, I don't know if you saw the picture of the community section of me with Bash. My son was here, and he said his girlfriend wouldn't forgive him if he didn't go take pictures of the chicks, because she likes to see the chicks. And I've been there and picked up my Bash, and Bash is the sweetest, that big old Brahma boy. He's about to turn 7 in June. And, I don't know if I want to have him too much longer, because, I don't know the longevity. He's already lost 3 girls last year. And there was no actual rhyme or reason as to why they died. They were molting. They came out of the molt. They just never got back their condition. I mean, it's like maybe that was their time, because they are very large birds, and like large dogs, most of them, not all, but most of them tend not to live long lives. And it could be that line of Brahmas just doesn't live that long, not like some of my others. So I don't know. I don't know how long he'll be around. He does sit down a lot, and that was a sign with my big old blue Orpington Sway that he would sit a lot. And he would take naps outside on the ground, and his favorite hen would watch over him. But he was, 5 years and 7 months when he died. I think something like 5 years, 8 months, something like that. He wasn't 6 years old yet. But big 14-pound rooster. Bash is taller. He's not as wide, but he's taller. I don't know. But he's just sweet. He waits for me at the pen door when I go in at night. His girls will be on the roost, and he waits as long as he can for me to come in to lock up the barn. And I check every pen. I go check for eggs, make sure everybody's got what they need, check the waters to see if I need to fill them up the next day, because they're going to roost. They don't need I don't need to fill them up at night. And he waits at the door, and I go in there. I said, "You want me to pick you up?" And I just hold my arms out, and he kind of shuffles up there. And he stands there for me to pick him up. And when I pick him up, he snuggles his head into my chest. And he'll just, if I actually put my arms around him on his sides when he's standing on the floor, he'll just sink to the floor. He's just a cuddle bug. And I absolutely adore him. Not all my roosters have been like that. Atlas was sweet. He'd let me pick him up, and he would let me hold him. But he didn't just crave being picked up like Bash does. Now, I don't do that when he's out with his girls outside, because he's on duty. But in the pen, it's a different thing. Going to at roost time, he wants his snuggles. Hector was nothing like that. Hector was a good boy. Hector liked me. But you try to pick Hector up, and he'd flail and he'd yell, and he'd try to get out of your arms because he didn't like it when his feet left the floor. He felt out of control, I would assume. And so I didn't try to pick him up unless I absolutely had to cut his spurs or check something about him that was important for his health. I didn't pick him up because he didn't like that, and I just let him be who he was. And that's what you need to do. You need to let the roosters be who they are, unless they're aggressive, and then you don't let them be there at all. But anyway, so yeah, Bash is a doll. He's just the sweetest rooster. He's the only large fowl rooster I have left after losing Hector and Atlas recently. And these little Bantam cochins, they're great. If I have two of these boys, I'm going to have to rehome the boys, whatever Bantam cochins. And they're great. They're a great little team. Yeah, in the spring they kind of got their little, they got their sparring on and got some blood flowing there. But and Gunner lost his spot as second command. He's now at the bottom, below even Forrest, because he's just not a fighter. He's just not a fighter at all. So he lets himself be bullied, and he just runs away from it. Iris adores him. Iris loves him. So these little Bantam coaches, I'm hoping if I have two that I can actually hold them together as a team, because every one of them as sweet as they can be. They don't bite me. None of them have ever flogged me, rushed me, anything like that. They're just so sweet-tempered. So the Cackle Bantam cochins, at least the splash ones and the buff ones, I really, really enjoyed them. Really enjoyed. So I wish some of you were in this area and wanted some of these, because these boys, I've got Mace with the big old Barred Plymouth Rock hens, Hector's hens. They have somebody to look out for them. He's not going to fight a coyote. You don't really expect that of a rooster, do you? I hope you don't. But he's good at watching the skies. They follow him. He calls them to come home. They go home. So he is their leader, even though he's a little guy, and they're big old butt hens. So I hope somebody will want them together. If there's two of them, I hope they go together. Because and they don't take up room. The Bantam cochins don't take up a lot of room. So if you just want, now they're not going to breed the hens, probably. If you got big hens like I do, that Mace is with, he can't, I don't think he can successfully breed the hens. I'd be shocked if he did. I haven't really checked them for fertility. He tries. Oh boy, does he try. But, he does what I need a rooster to do. I need him to be a lookout for the girls. I need him to guide them home when he hears danger. And that's what he does. So these Bantam cochins, I just think they're great little flock roosters if you don't necessarily want to have a breeding rooster. You just put them with your large fowl hens, and you can put several. Because if you've got several, they're looking all different directions, so they can see danger coming. But that's just some of the stuff I was thinking about today. I'm trying to think if there's something else. I don't even know. Every time I see something that Biden does, it just makes me ill. The way he treated a grieving mother who had lost two sons, whose pain pills were dosed with fentanyl. She lost both of her sons, and he was very dismissive of her. And I thought, what is wrong with you? He doesn't have a soul. He doesn't have a heart. I don't know what is wrong with this man. Something's wrong with him. Very bad wrong with him. And they keep talking about John Fetterman might be dead. He's definitely brain damaged. His family fled to Canada. And nobody's seen him. And the guy at Washington County, a Republican committee, has issued a proclamation that he better show himself on camera. He keeps supposedly issuing bills, but nobody's seen him. He said, you got to show yourself on camera, or we're going to call for you, or we are going to remove you from office, call for your resignation. Basically demanding proof of life. So yeah, that's what you get when you elect somebody like that. I don't think he was elected though. Even though I can't stand Dr. Oz. Dr. Oz is a Hollywood Muslim. He's disingenuous, he's dishonest, and I don't like him at all. I never like, so there wasn't much of a choice there, but I swear to God I would have picked Oz over that guy any day of the week. So I don't know, that story is ongoing and we'll see what happens. But I don't want to talk about the government stuff. Y'all get your P's and Q's lined up. Get yourself together. Don't be a sit on your butt so-called prepper. They don't make you a prepper if you buy some extra groceries and stick them in a closet. You need to learn a skill. I can't tell you how satisfying it was to turn on that solar yesterday and keep my refrigerator going and be able to keep my barn on, because if it got dark, there'd be no light at all in there. And I like to keep a night light on for the hen and chicks in case there's snakes or mice that get in there. She needs to be able to see what's coming at her because she's on the ground, so they're not flying up to the roost yet. I think they're about to start doing that. But you know, it was nice to, I know I could keep the night lights and stuff on in the barn. I could keep a heat lamp on the barn for those babies if I needed to, because it'll run things. And my husband didn't know how to do that. He got on YouTube and other places and he learned how to do it. And he bought the equipment and he learned how to do it. He's an electronic technician and an engineering, his last title was engineering design tech. Random thing. You know, I hate loud commercials, okay? This is just another random thing. And I can tell you why they're loud. Do you know when? I mean, of course, you can guess this because they want the advertisers to, people to hear the advertisements. But I know specifically why they're loud. My husband, when he retired from the military, he went to work at Scientific Atlanta, which became bought out by Cisco, and I don't know if it's still called Cisco anymore. He worked at Scientific Atlanta. They were working on cable boxes for the TVs. And they specifically were designing cable boxes, and they wanted specifically to design it where the commercials, when it went to advertisement, that the volume dropped so it didn't irritate people. And do you know what they were told? Don't you dare. Don't you dare. The investors, the advertisers, the companies do not want that. They want the commercials as loud or louder than the program that people are watching. So they were overridden their decision that they were going to make that the case. But the engineers and the techs were told, you can't do that. So that's why your commercials are loud and annoying. I thought you might like that little tidbit of information. My husband didn't want it either, but he was shot down on that one. So, just a random bit of information for you. I told you this was a random, disjointed video. It's a beautiful sunny day. It's going to be in the 60s today. It's going to be cold again this weekend. My beautiful peach tree is completely bloomed out. I don't expect to have any peaches this year again. We did get the azomite under both the fruit trees, but we're going to have frost and it's going to kill all the buds, so can't control the weather. No, you can't. 'Tis what it is. So, have a great day, everybody, and take care. And don't engage in any bad pseudoscience, okay? Let's engage in some common sense and learn some new skills, okay? So, take care. Bye.